Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from Northern Prairie Mantis School. My name is Sifu Bryan. I'm a Northern Prairie Mantis Kung Fu teacher with 30 years experience. It is the 1st of December 2020. Welcome guys to my weekly quote. Let's get straight to it. Whoops, I've lost the page. And quote of the week. The power of intuitive understanding will protect you from harm until the end of your days. Lao Tzu. Phenomenal quote, a fantastic quote, intuitive. You know, a lot of martial artists, we develop that. And it gets heightened in our training. As you're training, it's not just physical, it's also spiritual. You're developing from the inwards outwards, and you're developing those higher senses, those what's the word, your higher abilities, because the martial arts stimulates that. Your kung fu training should stimulate that, because it's about, if you're being true in your training, you're being honest in your training, you are trying to generally be a good person, your intuition, these abilities will heighten. They will heighten. And this is why I love Kung Fu. And you also will start to understand, it will raise these special gifts that we all have, but you'll also be able to sense BS too. Alright, you would also be able to sense BS. And um, I've been on this first, since these lockdowns and stuff like that. I've been on this quest for truth. What is truth? Is what the government is telling us is true of what's going on? And my intuition told me something's not quite right. And I would say the first 3 weeks, I would say, yeah, it got me. I think, oh, maybe there's some kind of disease out there looking to get me, and this unforeseen enemy or whatever. But after that, it's like my intuition kicked in, and it was like something's not right. And as I felt that, I felt drawn to information. The first signal was the news. It was late at night, where it spoke about the Wuhan, and it spoke of this diplomat from China was saying, well, there were international scientists in the centre, and Dr. Fauci's department was in there. Now, the newsman didn't even question that. Fauci, what was his department doing in there? What the media reporter, if he's even a reporter, did was overshadowed that and went on to another question, which raised the first alarm bell. Then they were speaking about the disease can affect different cultures a lot more and thing. I thought, that's interesting. So I did my little research on that and found out that was BS. Because obviously, when you look at countries like like Africa and the Caribbean and India, and their cases aren't high, very very low. In some cases, none at all. So your intuition tells you that don't sound right, and I clarify that by doing my own research and backing it up. So your intuition is very important. Yeah, very very important. Oh, I've lost the quote again, but let me go back to the quote again. The power of intuitive understanding will protect you from harm until the end of your days. Lao Tzu. Most definitely, most definitely. As a fighter, and all, I'm switching from one thing to another, but as a fighter, should I go into this situation? Even though my senses are telling me, no, do not go into this situation. And more than often, your senses are correct. But sometimes people don't listen, and they go into that situation, and again, what happens? Boop, boop, boop. They get beat up, or they get hurt quite badly, when they should have listened to their intuition. They should have listened to that voice within their heads telling them no. That gut feeling. Now, I like the breakdown of Einstein. Albert Einstein, and he says, uh, Albert Einstein has been widely quoted as saying, "The intuitive mind is a scarce gift." A scarce gift, unfortunately, in this day and age, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. There's many irrational people around. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift, intuition. Could be called knowing without knowing why. Thinking with your heart or gut feeling. Fantastic quote. Most definitely. Most definitely. I'm starting to trust my gut feelings and my intuition. For sure. For sure. And I'll go on to another research I did over this, and let me see now. And it's another doctor, a Dr. Roger Hodgkinson, and this doctor. Before I go into it, let me quote his stats, so to speak. He's a medical specialist, is a pathologist, which includes virology. He trained at Cambridge University in the UK. He is the ex-president of the pathology section of the Medical Association. He was previously an assistant professor in the facility, oh gosh, faculty of medicine. Forgive me on that one. Teaching. He was chairman of the Royal College of Physicians of Canada Examinations Committee in Pathology in Ottawa. He is currently the chairman of a biotechnical company in North Carolina. So this guy has got stats, all right? Now, this doctor goes on to say, he said, using the province's own statistics, the risk of death under 65 is 1 in 300,000. He goes on to say, the scale of the response that you're undertaking with no evidence with no evidence for it is utterly ridiculous. I have to agree. Business closures, funerals, weddings, etc. It is simply outrageous. It's just another bad flu, and you've got to get your minds around that. Let people make their own decisions. You shouldn't be totally out of the business. You should be totally out of the business of medicine. You're being led down the garden path. I'm outraged that this has reached this level. It should all stop tomorrow. This doctor is telling it the way it is speaking the truth from my gut instinct, from my tuition. And obviously he's got all the accolades behind his name, you know, and there's more doctors that are coming out with this. So I have to fully agree with this doctor. Now, another thing that I found out on my research, because of my intuition, my gut feeling on this, and all I want is the truth. That's all I want. I'm looking for only the truth. And this person is talking about germs, and this is a person called David Parker and Dawn Lester. They're independent researchers. They spent decades long researching into the nature of viruses and diseases. David Parker goes on to say, the whole medical establishment is based on the germ theory, meaning it's been scientifically it's been scientifically It's been scientifically proven, that it's never been scientifically proven, even up to this day. There is no evidence that a bacteria or a virus is the cause of any disease. Now, I've heard of the germ theory before, but it never really settled. But because of what's going on now it's settling. All right. Now he goes on to say the test to establish whether there's a coronavirus is relatively simple. First, you have to isolate and purify this this viral particle, and then fully categorize the DNA makeup, and then prove that the purified particle can be transferred to a healthy person and cause disease that have been contributed to it. So it is very straightforward, and these are their rules and standard of the medical establishment, their gold standards, and yet it's never been done. For this purpose, coronavirus or any other virus, which is astonishing, and that is astonishing, that they've never actually isolated this so-called virus, or purified it, or purified this this viral particle, and then fully categorized the DNA makeup, and even to back that up, because I think it's been a day of things that's happening, and Michael Benedict came with a Twitter drop today saying COVID 1984. He made a freedom of information request to the UK government, and it came back that the UK government admits the virus doesn't exist. This is the government. I have to say they are brazen to actually come back with that. So what's going on? What's going on? And even going back to the on the government's own website, that they've downgraded it back in March, and I'm going to leave the link again down below for you to do your own research. The government websites downgraded it to nothing but a flu. So what is going on now? Another thing with in Germany, something that happened in Germany. Now, the German city of Düsseldorf, Düsseldorf, I could just about say that, was forced Monday to lift an order for residents to wear masks against the coronavirus, after a citizen successfully sued against the blanket rule. Now, Professor Dolores Shadhill, look her up. She's another powerful professor that is very much talking out against this, states that a court in Germany has just accepted the evidence presented on monitoring the brain, that mask wearing results in oxygen deprivation and brain damage after just 2 hours. The mask mandate in Düsseldorf is now declared illegal. Illegal. Now, if I know this with a little bit of research of what I've done, surely the government knows this. But in all the evidence I've uncovered so far, tells me that this is a big scam and a big cover-up. So what is going on? Now, I can go into the different conspiracy theorists and so forth, and unfortunately, from what I'm seeing, they are correct. All these governments are working together because they're all doing the same thing in all these countries. So we've got rotten eggs in all these countries, and the positive thing about this is that at least we can see who they are and we can vote them out next time. Vote these people out. The government over here in the UK, unfortunately, yes, we need to vote these people out. Yeah, they've committed treason, and it's not good. So there's a lot of people now around the UK and around the world that are working to set up common law courts and international courts to trial these people, because this is not on. And there are a lot of ex-judges, lawyers that are coming on board, and I'm hearing now that there are police officers that are on board, but they're keeping it on a down low at the moment. Also, I'm hearing military officers are on board, but again, they're keeping it on a down low at the moment. So it's building momentum. The momentum is building. The narrative of what the media is showing you is scandalous and is treasonous. They are blatantly lying. Now, the marches over the weekend, I think that these marches are going on every weekend. And the act of some police officers have been a disgrace, how they've been bullish and brutal in breaking up these marches. And these are protesters that are peaceful protesters. Even the way they've been handling our elderly, it's been a disgrace. And those officers that manhandled that elderly man the other day, they should be ashamed of themselves. Absolutely ashamed of themselves. Now, another thing, an update actually on the man Hancock arrest that we're looking for. We're looking for this to be the first MP to be made accountable for their actions. Now, it's not gone exactly to how they wanted, but I'm gonna let the computer do the talking, and you could just hear the computer talk than me baffling on. So this is the update from the man Hancock update. I'll let it play. Oops, it's not playing.
After initially being told on Monday morning that we wouldn't receive the judge's decision on whether to issue the Hancock arrest warrant for another 10 days, by late afternoon he had already made up his mind and ruled as follows: 1. That he was satisfied that we have the authority to bring the private prosecution. 2. That he has the jurisdiction to decide the application. 3. That it is not a prosecution which can only be run by the CPS. More prima facie evidence required, however. The judge did not agree that Hancock's dishonesty is proven by his publicly documented failure to disclose to MPs before they voted on the coronavirus bill that COVID-19 had been reclassified as no longer being considered an airborne high-consequence infectious disease (HCID), or that the Imperial College model had been proven to be false. Whilst the decision could be appealed, we have been advised that we need to acquire more prima facie evidence of Hancock's dishonest conduct before any judge will issue a warrant or a summons, which we expect to obtain within the next 28 days. Nevertheless, our legal team also advised us that the production of the very same evidence we are seeking to prove dishonest conduct beyond reasonable doubt will constitute sufficient prima facie evidence of a much more serious crime than fraud, as well as conclusive proof of the frauds we have already alleged. In other words, we've been asked to provide the smoking gun from the crime scene, which is clearly what is required to sustain allegations of such a serious nature. Whilst it would have been an audacious and unprecedented result if we had managed to amass enough prima facie evidence to justify the issue of the Hancock arrest warrant, it is still worthy of note that the judge elected not to rule that the application was vexatious totally without merit. Had he done so, that would have caused a major impediment to the case moving forward, so we must assume that he saw merit in the charges laid and understood that further FOI requests should provide the prima facie evidence required to sustain a subsequent application. Legal team complete assessment of case. Furthermore, the urgent action we took was taken in the absence of a formal criminal investigation, while our legal team prepared their initial advice on how the PCP should proceed, after assessing the myriad of criminal allegations we placed before them, for the purposes of identifying the strongest charges, in order to guarantee the greatest chance of success. Now we have received that advice, The information in the main part of the case against Hancock et al. Will be laid in the criminal court, as soon as we have obtained the prima facie evidence that would remove all possibility of reasonable doubt in the minds of a jury, when and not if the PCP moves to the trial stage. All being well, we will have that evidence by 22/12/2020 at the latest. Yesterday afternoon, we had a conference call with the 3 barristers involved, during which we agreed on how proceed with the case, now that we have established the evidence threshold that needs to be met, given that nobody else has ever brought such a private criminal prosecution against a serving cabinet minister before, let alone had one arrested. The people beat tyrannical government in the meantime. Rest assured that, whatever the establishment throws at us, the PCP is moving forward, with or without a warrant being issued to prevent further crimes being committed. However, as the senior partner at the firm we have engaged stated rather sadly during yesterday's call, it appears that there is no remedy available to hold members of Parliament accountable for their crimes, other than the one we are actively engaged in pursuing. In every other respect, serving MPs are held by the courts to be above the law. If that's not a chilling insight into the tyrannical system of government the people are up against, I don't know what is. Nevertheless, if that is the beast we must slay to peacefully restore the common law and guarantee the freedom of our children and grandchildren, then that is exactly what we are going to do.
Excellent. So there you go. You might have to just rewind this part of it and listen to it again to really fully absorb it, but some very interesting parts in it. I mean, the part where it's talking about it's not an airborne disease, so all these masses, you know, they need to stop that now. And from the judgment in Germany, you are doing yourself damage. Alright, for children, definitely should not be wearing a mask. Shouldn't be doing it. And if there's a problem in these schools with it, present them the evidence. Do your research. Like I said, I'm going to leave like little links beneath this video, so it will lead you wherever it's going to lead you to. But you will. There's so much evidence out there. These schools are doing disservice. They need to stop it. They need to stop it. And check their risk assessments on what they're doing. Is it an efficient risk assessment? Have they evaluated the risks? And approach them with what we've said here. They've never isolated this so-called virus. So there's no evidence. This is based on no evidence, no scientific evidence. The PCR test they're using is well known to be fraudulent. Fraudulent. People say that this is an incompetent government. I don't believe that. I don't believe you can be so incompetent. No way. There's no way. There is no way you could be so incompetent. It's what they are trying to do, crash this economy. You know, it's the elites. But they won't get away with it. They won't get away with it. There's too many people that know about it now. There's too many people that have been enlightened, and we're moving forward with what we can do legally. Yeah. Legally, and also the job that's going on in the USA now, because they want to get back their power to kick out Trump, but Trump is in their way, and not even hopefully, he's won the elections out there. And he will prevail. He will prevail because he knows what's going on, and he's a pain in their rear, so to speak. So that's a good thing. That is a good thing, you know, because if America falls, everywhere else will fall. But on a positive note, you know, there's things happening. But again, these are my thoughts. This is my research, what I've done. I'm not telling you to believe or whatever. You could do your research on base what I've spoken about and the different professionals I've used here. I'm going to drop some of their links down below for you to see for yourself. And I think it's positive. It is positive. So guys, It's a bit of a long one, but I'm going to cut it short there. But this is a fantastic quote. Let me just say it one more time very quickly. The power of intuitive understanding will protect you from harm until the end of your days. Lao Tzu, most definitely. Phenomenal quote. Guys, on that note, take care and stay blessed.